housing reported both the median listing price and price per square foot fell annually last week. So even though we are seeing more demand of people applying for these mortgages and all that, prices are still dropping, right? They're not dropping, too crazy, but they are dropping. First drop in listing prices since the spring. First drop in price per square foot in 2 years. Indicates others are adjusting expectations. Realty.com's chief economist stated that the national housing market is now more balanced with 5 months of supply. Local conditions remain the most important factor for buyers and sellers. So again, the point for us to know our local market. I think here we kind of know things will drop. They haven't dropped too much, but we know we're in a buyer's market, so just always, you just gotta understand the type of market that we're in.
Yeah. Make sure you always make that distinction when you're reading this data that national numbers don't necessarily follow that.
Yes.
A lot stronger than the others.
Yes.
If you look at Austin, Texas, or San Francisco, or some on the Port Coast, they're struggling.
No, we still got a strong market.
We're doing a strong market. People are
Oh yeah, we're still getting people coming in. Still. Not as much, we're not the same approach we did a few years ago with so many people, but we still got people coming in. We're still affordable compared to a lot of places, so. And there's job opportunities here. That's like one reason I know they run later on this day. We'll move on to Carlos. Yeah, Carlos, yeah. He's super cool, man. One of my best friends in the world. Go to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Marshall Hicks. Oh, my man.
So I got a request to talk to y'all about creative financing methods, and as the attorney in all this, I really only recommend one of these 5 methods here. Oh, I've got these notes if you want. But they can all be done. So whether I think they're a good idea or not is only so relevant. If this is the deal you have in front of you, it's the only way to get it done, then let's get it done and come happy with it. But I want to talk about what they are so that you can understand if someone brings this up to you, what they're talking about, and then also what's good or bad about each one of these methods. The one that I don't have any issues with and do recommend if you have a seller that is up for this, is just straight up seller financing. Say they own the house outright or the car dealership or whatever. Some people, if they want to avoid getting a lump sum of money all at once for tax reasons, there are other options like 231 exchanges, which I think everyone is aware of, right? But some of these people are perfectly happy to play mortgage company and actually finance the transaction to the person. And that can be on whatever terms they want as long as it's legal. One thing I did learn, somebody I had wanted to do this for their au pair, like their living nanny. They wanted to do a loan for her to buy a house at 0% interest. I never had anyone suggest that before, so I had to do some research. That's actually illegal. You can't do that. I found out. There are
You can't finance that.
No, and it makes sense. Once I started looking into it, I realized if you could do that, everyone rich would avoid all the estate taxes by making loans to their children. Because loans aren't taxable.
Right.
So there's a good reason for it. It would be a really easy way to avoid taxation on wealth.
So what's the minimum interest rate?
And it's very complicated, but there's like a Fed table for it. So it depends how much you're borrowing, but it's low. It's like 3-ish right now. But there is like an actual federal website that lists what those rates are and how to calculate them based on the loan interest.
So if you're trying to sell financing, you still have to adhere to that minimum interest rate.
You're unlikely to run into someone that wants the less.
No, of course, yeah.
But just know that if someone thinks, oh, I'm just going to do a loan for my kid, I'm going to do it at 0, you actually can't. You can gift it to them, but there's taxes on them.
Yeah.
And you can loan it to them at a low market interest rate, but they pretty much want it to be like around like what the Fed are, which makes sense. But that is very easy for us to do. The key consideration there is the house needs to be paid off, or it needs to have a mortgage that the buyer is bringing enough down payment to pay it off. The only other way to do it then would be the seller pay it off at closing, which I've seen them do before too. They look like $20,000 down or something. They're going to finance it to the new buyer. They didn't pay off the loan right before closing or at closing. But the firm will prepare these loan documents for them. Like we'll draft a note, the security deed, they'll have a recorded security deed just like a bank would. It's going to have all the language that allows them to foreclose and the require defaults. So they are protected in that way. Foreclosure is not any fun, to be honest. You know, it's an expensive process, but if they're willing to take the risk, they can charge basically whatever. The prepayment penalties I mentioned, you can have one on consumer loans, but it can't be more than 2% for year one and more than 1% for year two. I will discuss all the stuff with your sellers if you ever run into one of these. Basically, all I need is their terms, and we'll draft up all the documents they need to sign at closing. If they owe us any money, we'll let them know. Or if there's a balance of the buyer, we'll bring their cash to close just like normal, in excess of the loan amount. If they're trying to charge over that. If someone's trying to finance 100%, they want to literally bring zero to the closing table. It's usually with their friends and family, that kind of thing. Just make sure the lender understands the purchase price is not the cash to close. There are recording fees, there's attorney's fees, title fees, recording taxes, prorated taxes. So the actual amount that they'll have to wire in is going to be more than the sales price if they're going to do it that way. So just make sure they understand that, or if the buyer has enough money for it, so that goes into the purchase price. We can do these very fast. If somebody gets basically fast the cash closing, which the long pull and all that is typically title work, which takes 4 to 5 days in a local county. They're out in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes they don't have online records, and so on. So physically go there. That might take 7 to 10 days. Literally, like there's handwritten records in all of these guys. If you go back far enough, they're like written like quilling, like on pages that are like this big. Like people's deeds are like.
Who's tasked with going out there so these guys?
We have a couple of third party companies. Like,
Oh, okay.
The whole industry is going that way now.
I thought y'all was sending my guy around.
No. They used to send me out. I've done it, yeah, I've done it. But the industry has changed a lot. Customers won't pay $1,000 for a title search, they'll go get somebody else. It's kind of their rates a lot more pricing, a lot of third party vendors kind of that's how we get your title search for $250. And we just assure them. So they don't carry insurance as well. So that's how that all works. But yeah, it's fast. The sellers can usually have interest income. Some of them are more attracted to that. It's funny, every time I see someone do this, I don't think they charge enough interest. They always like try to be fair, like I'll do 5%. In my mind, like you want like why don't you just go buy T-bills or something? It's a lot safer.
Right.
Maybe they're hoping to get their house back eventually. I don't know. But just know they can have flexible terms. Repayment can be whatever they want. They can do it at 5 year.
Is there a limit on how high the interest will be?
Yes. So I think called industry laws that prevent you from taking advantage of customers. It's really nice. I'm not sure I've ever seen one run to the limit, but I know like on cars it's like 18%. There are ways to get around that. You see places like Mars cars and other places they do like a 30-day note. So it's like it's the maximum interest allowed, but only for 30 days, and then we're using those 30 days to compound every month. And people that are like 200% interest. It's really crazy. Yeah, if you throw into that a lot of bankruptcy work, there's some really bad partnerships in town that just really take advantage of the poor, basically.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Car sales is just a bad rap.
I literally see people they get their tax return, they put the entire thing down, it's like $6,000 on a car that's worth like $5,500, and they finance another $20,000 at like some, but it's a BMW, and some guy thinks it's a great idea. Yeah, but that's why we have these laws. Unfortunately, some people find ways around it. But you could do the same thing. But I would recommend the right day to do a little bit of but the firm doesn't charge much to draft these documents. It's $250 to $500 typically. They're all templates. If they have like really specific requirements, I've seen people trying to get way too clever with it. It adjusts time to the LIBOR rate and this and that. If it's all that, then it's going to take a lot more time for us to draft it. That would be more than 500 in. But if it's someone that just comes in and it's like, I want 30 mortgage, 15 year mortgage, 6%, $250, knock it out in that. And then those are expenses right away, basically. So that's one that I totally comfortable with recommending. Lease options, this is like your rent to own situation. You'll see these sometimes called contract for lease. That's kind of a common like local term for it. These are about the same as far as risk for the seller. they'd be in a pretty good spot with it. It's usually a really bad idea for the buyers, only because there's a lot of people that are very predatory in the way they structure these things. Most of them are written in a way that if you miss a payment even by a day, you technically defaulted, they can take your entire down payment and take it off, and you're not, you're a 10. So they can then evict you if they want to. So that can be it. Yeah, back in my bankruptcy days, again, I ran into people that had been paying someone's mortgage for 15 years or something, was late by like a day because of some error with their payroll or something, and the landlord comes in and says, sorry, thanks, this is all mine, I keep it, you're gonna redo it. It doesn't have to be that way, you can have more reasonable terms, or you can choose not to enforce them as the person on the other end, but we'll get into that issue, not legal ones, you can do it.
Mauricio had one where his client was told that if he didn't pay, that if he stopped working for the company, that he would lose his option to travel. ¿Te acuerdas que tuvo una de que según él decía que si dejaba de trabajar le quitaban la opción a compra? Ah, sí.
Yeah, and I'd be curious if that would be like enforceable.
Enforceable, right?
Yeah, but what I always tell people is you can put whatever you want in your contract.
Pero sí, claro.
Yeah.
Que se la quitaron. Pero ¿por qué se la quitaron? Porque cuando I read the contract, the landlord was telling his client that, but I read the contract and it wasn't on the contract.
Yeah.
But he took away the house from the guys.
Porque usted compra una casa, yo trabajo para usted. Usted ya me echó, yo no trabajo para usted. Entonces, por eso más es para quitar la casa.
Pero es que eso no estaba en contrato.
Por eso.
Lo leí. Él se dejó quitar la casa.
Y se fue a corte.
Ah, se fue a corte.
Eso fue durante el corte.
Están en corte ahora mismo. Ok. Pero en corte no.
Yo no creo que no pague porque él va a pagar la vida.
So that's kind of what, so I mean, you can put whatever you want in there, and it can be effective until somebody puts it in front of a judge.
¿Sabe por qué él le pegó el man? Que porque él nunca le pagó taxes, pero como no me lo cobró.
Eso sí estaba en mano.
Ajá, porque él, o sea, debo un pay de tax, pero the people rent no pay the tax.
And the information did that,
Ajá.
that was on there.
They used to own,
Yeah.
but the tenant was supposed to pay the property taxes and he had to pay.
Oh, yeah, so it's.
But the dude really was mad. He actually told him that he was taking the house away. But that's why he was like, hey, you read the contract and see if it's. I was like,
Eso es una secuela.
That's another big downside for the tenant in this case, where lease to own is they usually do put the taxes on you, the maintenance of the property. You're getting like all the downside of the house without much of the upside, although you're kind of locking your.
The no fact, yeah, that's
Pero ve,
But that's not always good either. If you're in 2021, you might not be so happy about it as when you moved up.
yeah.
Claro,
That's 2017, though.
But historically, that's worked out pretty good, right? And for your sellers.
O sea que cuando hay un rent-to-own, la casa pasa al nuevo dueño o la casa queda a nombre del otro dueño.
No, cuando hace un la casa siempre queda bajo el nombre de la persona que está.
Pero los taxes y eso aquí me llega al nuevo que está haciendo el rent-to-own o al nuevo.
Ahí el dueño de la casa puede cobrarle todo eso al inquilino. Los biles creo que le van a llegar al dueño de la casa. El dueño de la casa es responsable de todo eso, como quiera. Pero si en el contrato yo puse que tú no vas a pagar todo eso, pues entonces obviamente yo como el dueño puedo obligarte a que tú me lo pagues a mí. Y si no, pues tengo la opción de sacarte de la propiedad.
O sea
que no está cumpliendo el contrato.
Es como hace
Pero-
el rent-to-own, como hace para decir, oh, la casa es mía en sí. ¿Con qué identifica que la casa es propiedad de no
¿Y el inquilino o el dueño?
El inquilino, el que está haciendo el
El
rent-to-own.
inquilino tiene el contrato y el contrato ese dice que él tiene derecho a estar ahí y que él tiene derecho a la compra. Pero en cualquier momento que él viole cualquier cosa que está ahí, que él violó lo de los impuestos, él no pagó él no pagó su porción de los impuestos, ¿verdad? Pues ya ahí él violó el contrato, ya ahí él tiene la TPD. Pues ya, por esa razón se jodió. Y lo malo es que yo sé que el tipo, ni siquiera, yo no creo que le importaba tanto los taxes, como tú dices, es porque el tipo se fue de la compañía. So, él se la jugó de listo. Él se la jugó de listo y él nunca se lo cobró con el propósito de que él en algún momento iba a enforzar eso.
Pues sí.
Yeah.
And another risk for your seller is the buyer may never be able to actually purchase the property, so your buyer can fall out, or lose interest. You've got the risk that the same boat. Personally, if I was thinking of doing this, I would either lease it or I would sell it or use a program like what you described the other day, where the seller can actually sell it and then the government steps in as a lease owner.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a lot safer for your buyers too, there's a lot of like consumer protections in there, so. But know that it's out there, it's an option, not something I really recommend if I do on either side. But, it is something that someone will propose to you eventually. This next one, you're definitely, if you've got a listing, someone is eventually gonna come to you and make a subject to offer.
Oh, God, so many of them. I'm loving this item to this topic right now.
Yeah, I do not recommend these. We used to not close them. We will close them now. We'll put together some forms where we're gonna scare the hell out of your buyer and seller at the table probably. We're gonna have them sign things. Specifically acknowledging that they understand what a due on sale clause is and a security deed. There's not a security deed in the world that doesn't have due on sale clause. What that means is when you transfer title to someone else, then the entire note is now due. So if they don't pay off the security deed, which is exactly what's being proposed here, subject to is like, you sell me the house, I'll just start making the mortgage payments. On the loan that's in your name, right? So that has a lot of risks for your buyer because a lot of times the seller wants to make the mortgage payment themselves, so they know that it's being done, so they want you as the buyer to pay them, and then they'll pay the mortgage payment every month. What do you do if they don't? Right? If they don't make that mortgage payment, if the bank ever finds out this happened, they're coming to foreclose, or they can at least. What they're gonna do is we do about 30 days to go refinance and pay them off, because it's cheaper than getting foreclosed.
O sea que yo le puedo pedir, por ejemplo, deme 40,000, me sigue pagando renta, algún año que mejore el crédito y ahí me hace la financiación para comprar la casa.
Por este otro, estamos en el precio. Esto es, por ejemplo, uno tiene un listing, muchas veces
Sí.
me llega una oferta donde la gente pide, vamos a suponer, Joshua es el dueño de la propiedad. Vienes tú y dices, mira, yo voy a poder tener el mortgage de Joshua, tú me vas a cambiar el título a mí, pero yo voy a seguir haciendo los pagos del banco normal. O sea, el banco no tiene que saber nada, el título va a pasar como contado, pero según el banco, yo estoy pagando el préstamo tuyo, yo voy a seguir mandando los pagos al préstamo tuyo. Yo te voy a dar a ti $10,000 por adelantado, toma $10,000 y yo me quedo con tu mortgage. Y yo sigo pagando.
Pero el banco queda con el nombre del otro.
Y entonces el problema, ellos lo hacen, ellos lo cierran, ese deal ellos lo cierran, pero todos los préstamos con los bancos tienen una cláusula, que no se te acuerda de cuando enseñamos los derechos y todo eso en la escuela, tienen una cláusula que dice que si tú tratas de vender la propiedad, de una vez tú le debes al banco todo lo que tú
Claro, se lo
So, yeah. Ahora, muchas veces los bancos no están chequeando esas cosas, ellos no están impulsando eso muchas veces, por eso hay una línea gris ahí. De hecho, ellos antes no hacían ese cierre, ahora sí lo hacen, y mucha gente ahora lo hacen también, pero ellos hacen a todo el mundo firmar en el cierre de que tú entiendes que si el banco decide venir y decir, hey, tú cambiaste el título, tú nos debes ahora a nosotros todo el dinero, tú entiendes el riesgo que estás tomando, so, ellos lo hacen a la gente firmar eso. Pero ya, hay mucha gente, a mí me llegan ofertas, casi todos los listos que yo tengo, me llegan ofertas, mira, le damos $20,000 a tu vendedor, y nos quedamos con el mortgage, y tu conducción también la pagamos, qué sé yo qué. Entonces, para el vendedor a veces hace sentido, por ejemplo, tengo uno que lo ha pensado varias veces, y que disfrutamos, por eso yo quería hablar del tema hoy, para también ir para un poquito más de los tiempos, porque él no tiene nada de esto en la casa. Él tiene que traer el dinero al cierre, que es el cliente mío, de tan poquito de cosas que él tiene. Le estamos ofreciendo un deal así donde le van a dar, creo que son como $5,000, pero $5,000 para él tener que pagar, a él le suena bien. Pero ahora él tiene el riesgo de que entonces qué pasa si esa persona no paga.
Le quitan la casa.
Exactamente, le quitan la casa, o el banco tiene
Fíjate toda la plata que hizo y le quitan todo.
correcto, ese es el riesgo. Ahora, hay mucha gente haciéndolo y llevan ya años pagando esos mortgages y no les ha pasado nada. So, es un punto de riesgo.
I'm gonna think about it too, if you're the seller in this situation, you sell it, the person that bought it stops paying you, the mortgage that they said they would pay, that's still your credit. You've gotta make the mortgage payment, but you're not entitled, and you don't.
And now, what gets set up in that event? Is there like, okay, we'll handle this transfer back if these folks don't pay?
No.
No?
That's what I'm saying, it's up to that.
And there's no way to make it that way, like, hey, if you don't pay, like, title gets transferred back to me or something like that?
No,
Is
you
there a
would
restriction?
have have to have them sign a deed at closing already and trust you not to file it. Because they're now like gonna be the legal owner of it. There is no way to like auto revert it back. They have to sign the deed back to you. If they refuse to do it.
There's no lien you can put on the property.
What lien? The lien is against you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You sold it to them.
You sold it to them, right?
Yeah, and you didn't get a new loan. So, I mean, you can have contracts with them and stuff, but it's not gonna fix your problem. Someone's gotta pay this mortgage. Your credit's getting ready to pay, so there's a company for the property.
Yeah. I just wanna know if there's a way we can set it up to where that our seller can set at some point say, okay, fine, we'll stop paying them, okay, I'll step back in, I'm not gonna let the payments get backed up, but now you gotta get all title, I gotta get back on title.
The only way to do that is for them to sign the deed back to you. So you could get it up front, but now they're having to trust you that you're not just gonna go straight to the courthouse and report it. Because as soon as you do, they don't.
There's no contract we can do that would make them.
I mean, there can be, but it won't fix your problem. Like, if the problem comes up, now you're just suing each other, the mortgage is getting late, the bank's coming for the property.
Yeah.
Maybe this.
Cause I'm saying like, if I'm the seller, right, I probably, alright, I want my credit to get messed up, y'all stop paying, okay, let me start paying, but let me start the process of getting the property back in my name then.
Yeah, but think about it, now you're going to a judge and you're explaining to them, yeah, I know I wasn't allowed to sell this house, but I did. Like, this is
Get complicated.
it's complicated and it's.
I'm surprised we can even do this in the first place.
You really should not do that. And I tell all my agents, if someone comes doing this, to run away.
I have that on my begging to do.
Well, yeah, it's sitting on 3-4% mortgage rate. It's like, it's very attractive.
And for some sellers where it comes back to like that one, I knew something about this finance before, where he literally has, the equity he has doesn't even cover the real estate payment, I mean, the broker payments, you know?
Right.
Like, so he has to bring to closing, we're looking at probably him bringing $10,000 to $15,000 to closing. Versus, you know, sometimes he gets these subject to offers and he's had people reach out to him directly where it's like, well, we'll put $5,000, $10,000 in your pocket, you know, and you take over the pay. And to him, that sounds very enticing.
Of course, but so they don't understand how messy this can get.
Right, and I explained that wrong to him, you told me last time.
And there might be, I mean,
That's
as
the
the buyer, this is a lot more attractive. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Because your risk is fairly low, especially if you can like manage to get there while you details with mortgage pay yourself. But most of them won't let you do that. Also, people say, you know, how will the bank find out? Are they doing title searches on my property every year? No, they're not going to be like trolling the deed records, but they are giving you tax bills. And if you change the title, there's going to be a new name on the tax bill. And
I didn't see anything pop up yet.
I've never seen someone get called. So like that's why people do it, right? I've never seen
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody
call
do
and
that.
I'll do it as long as the mortgage is being paid. They usually just take the payments
I
quietly.
bet it is just
Yeah, but like, even like best intention parties, you're doing this with your brother or something, like someone can die. Like, and now this is a big mystery. You're dealing with their estate. If you ever go sell the property to get the payoff, we're gonna need something signed by that person that actually holds the security deed, with their social security number. What if they pass away? What if their estate hasn't been probated? There's not anyone that can sign on their behalf. It's a cluster. And also, if I'm the seller and a buyer comes to me like that, my first question is, why can't you get a loan? Like, why can't you get a mortgage? You can go on credit. Why would I let you do that?
Yeah.
This is my credit. You're like co-signing the stranger. That's scary. But that is the thing. And most of them will say, oh, it's because the rates are too high now. And you're like 2% higher than they were. They're always investors. You're not going to have a traditional buyer come here. It's always investors. Like, your business model is so tight that mortgage payment difference of like a couple $100 a month is actually going to break it. I think probably no bank wants to let you know. So why would I want
I think for a lot of these buyers too, the reason why they turn up too is that they can pick up more older properties by putting less money down. You're not doing the 20% down payment. They don't really give them like, you know, $5,000, $10,000.
It makes sense for them, especially because they have the advantage too that the seller does have some interest in protecting their credit. So like that doesn't mean they won't and stop paying the mortgage payments and just keep taking your payments every month no matter what plan. That can happen too. So that's the other thing is your buyer and now you're in foreclosure, you pay the mortgage full time. Like if you have a personal claim against somebody, it's obviously the you know.
Have you seen people do it when they come to closing the buyer? Do they normally try to get at closing that live information to pay directly themselves, or?
I've never closed with
Okay.
I steal my agents away.
Okay.
And they're always getting them. I know.
Who's been closing these
does a lot of stuff, that honestly, I know there's money to be made there, but I like to keep my life simple with my agents, and honestly, your efforts are some of the better spent trying to find like more traditional deals. You're gonna make more money, you're gonna have less headaches. There is a niche there for people, but it's not fun to watch. You can run a mobile home up too, and probably make money. I don't recommend that anyway, right? Take it up, and there's so many businesses that do that, but this is, I think, and this is one that I have to stay away from. But if you have someone come to you, they can tell you what it is, and if that's your guy, but maybe flipping it,
He's really close to like taking one of those. He's like,
that's what he wants to do a little bit of, but I don't know why.
yeah, I want him. I told him. That's why he haven't taken it yet, because I turned him the last time, like, it was months that he's been receiving this type of offer. And I've been determined because I've been letting him know, like, you know, everything he's talking about.
What is very fine, it just takes a little longer to close though, is if someone's got a VA or an FHA loan, those loans are assumable. That is all completely legitimate. You can, but they're gonna go through the underwriting process with the bank as if they're the borrower. That's just a perk of FHA loans, so they'll actually let somebody come in, substitute in, same rate, everything. That is all approved by the bank, none of these risks exist anymore, they do security, it's not a closing, it's all in the correct party's names, it's just like any other stuff. Once the seller, sign that, they're out of your life forever if you don't want to, you don't need them. That I totally, and I'm shocked that more people haven't taken advantage of it, because there are a lot of FHA loans out there, some of them are ones. You know, there are people out there with 1.7, 1.8 on their mortgage, there's 2s, there's 3s. There's a lot more affordability in there, that mortgage payment is low.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to what you would see.
The thing is coming up with that equity for people, because a lot of those
Right,
people
you gotta
are
buy
too,
out.
they're
You gotta buy out.
sitting on like $100,000 equity.
Correct, so
And,
the
you
down
know,
payment, and usually down payment, you can probably have a person that's like,
Yeah.
dying to get an FHA loan at 2%.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very, very tricky, you have to like find that perfect scenario, but,
Yeah.
just know that's an option too. If you ever find out someone's got an FHA loan, work out some too.
Yeah.
If you're applying for FHA.
Can they do seller financing on as a second, as maybe like a second mortgage holder on that, let's say they have $100,000 equity, they want to give somebody the assumable loan, they assume the loan is the $250 amount, let's just say house is worth $350, that other $100,000, could they do
Yep,
it?
and that's a wraparound mortgage, that's what we're talking
Okay.
about.
Cool.
So, yeah, you could do that. That is basically combining seller financing with subdivision, is kind of what it is. Except we're talking now about doing it the proper way, where someone actually assumes the loan, the bank actually knows what's going on and approves it. You can do that. So that would be a second, position security, because the bank is always going to be in the first position. But you could take a second position for the equity, pick whatever interest rate, so as long as it doesn't exceed like the initial cost, except it's like 18%. So that's fine.
Yeah.
That could work for somebody like that.
Mhm.
But you gotta have that seller that's willing to receive their money over 10 years or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
You can put a balloon payment on it, but that doesn't mean they're gonna have it.
Yeah.
Because you're usually dealing with someone that's just getting started in life, or never got to the point where they can have an extra 20, 30 grand rolling around anymore. That's an option too, because wraparound mortgages used to be really popular. In the 80s and 90s, people were doing it a lot. The issue with that one, it's the same issue as subdivision, because if you're not doing like a true assumption, and you still got this other security out there, the seller was taking a lot of risk in that scenario, because they have a segregation lien. So if there is a foreclosure, there's no guarantee you're gonna get anything, you gotta pay the first mortgage off first, before the second position person gets anything. So the payment will balance it on the first, then maybe some risk there. Not really, honestly. But it is a way to structure it, sometimes in real estate, there's some problem solvers. ECA, this all starts to make sense. Work with it, you know, as an option, whether it's good or not, and maybe a better option than what the other options are. I love that they were talking to songs about like that. I qualify loans and everything. Yeah, and it's much more.
That's why Spanish call it Escuela de Todo. It solves everything.
That's honestly where I was probably trying to steer my clients about you guys. They're a lot more protected that way. This is all above the board.
Yeah.
I've always.
Reflecting actually has a commercial loan product for commercial clients. who, obviously the best type of commercial loan is those SBA loans, you do like 5%, 10% down payment. But if you wanna go like the route where you're not having to show taxes or nothing like that, and you don't have to do the best credit or nothing like that, the bank is gonna normally require like a 30% down payment on it. But there's one part that she has allows for the seller to finance up to 20% of the down payment. So that way they can come in with like a 10% down payment. Seller has to take second position on the deeds and all that stuff, but you know, it's an option for people who want to buy commercial and don't necessarily have all the right paperwork that they need.
And your commercial sellers are gonna be a lot more open to this kind of
Yeah,
stuff. A lot of
they're
times,
business people.
these are business people,
Mhm.
usually doing very expensive property, and the interest comes like a lot more significant. Like, I just can't imagine doing this to make $200 a month.
Yes.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
There's so much easier ways to make money. You drive Uber. Like,
Right.
I don't know what people think of
For real.
Yeah, I just saw it. He insisted on seller financing it, and he wanted to be below market rate, and he wanted to give an option to the buyer that if they were ever going to refinance it, they would give him the right of first refusal to undercut the market again. And I was like, why are you doing this? But he was a special guy. He's very rich. Very rich. He never said it, but I think his hope is I think he thinks he's gonna get this house back.
He's gonna foreclose on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think he's gonna sell it later. He's gonna take the riches for a little while. But, I don't know, maybe it's just somebody else's thought, but I don't think he's very confused, but, couldn't be talked out of it. The last one on this list, you'll probably never see this, you're most likely, if there's a partnership, you're gonna see two buyers coming in together. But I wanted to throw it there because it is technically an option. Say you've got a property, doesn't even have to be paid off, but someone could pay you half of what it's worth or 25% of what it's worth. You can own 80% of interest in real estate. So just for ease of use, you got a $100,000 property, it's already paid off. Someone could come in and say, I've got $50K today, I'll give you that for 50% interest in this property, and then maybe you have some agreement that they have the right to purchase the other 50% in the next 4 years. Something like that. As a 50% owner, if they ever sell the property, then you're going to participate in that outside of the appreciation of it. You'll get your half if you're an owner. So there's some attractiveness to that, but my biggest thing is I would say if you're going to do something like that, you probably want to form an LLC or something to put the title into and have some rules around how decisions are going to be made with the property. You got two partners that don't agree, you got a problem, right? Because somebody's not going to be happy.
Partnerships are always so hard.
They're very hard. And when they split up, it's tough. This is the same reason I tell you don't ever let your clients buy a property with their girlfriend or boyfriend. It's really so risky. I see it a lot. If they're married, it's totally different because there's a legal process in place when you break up. If you split in a marriage, the courts will decide who gets what. If you are 50-50 owners with your girlfriend and she runs out and cheats on you and you want her out, you are stuck on this house. You can't sell it without her signature, or vice versa. The guy turns out to be a total dirtbag, like beats you up, who knows, right? Like now you're stuck with this person. You have to negotiate with them like holding house. And there's no divorce, right? So like there is no judge to come in to settle this. So all you can do is sue them. You can go for like a partition action, but if they can't afford to buy you out, like the court can't make them buy you out. They don't have the money, right? So that gets really ugly. I've seen so many people come back. I always tell them, like, just put it in one of your names until you're ready to make it. You really need to have that legal process. Or you could do it like an LLC. And then you could have the exact process of you that would just be how it's going to be settled. You can put whatever rules you want on your LLC. You can just pick someone that's in charge, which is pretty trusting. Again, I'm not a big fan of it, but that's cool. Whatever for me. And that toxic relationships, man. I've been in them. You don't want to own real estate with that person because it will be very expensive to sue them to try and straighten the title out if they want to hold your houses there and just refuse to sell it. And I've seen it time and time again. People come in. A lot of times they don't even realize that their like ex is on the title. I find out when I get my title work back and I call him, we broke up 10 years ago. He's gone. I don't know what he's doing. I've been paying his mortgage the whole time. That's the other thing. What do they pay their rent? Like you're gonna pay your mortgage every month. They've been gone forever. They're 50% owners, and this boyfriend half of that house. I was like, I want half the money, which is stuff, but she had a ton of that. And he'd been gone for like 10 years. And she's like, can I